The morning sun was just beginning to rise over the horizon as Captain John Smith and his crew set sail in search of the lost city of Atlantis. The ship was a majestic sight, with its tall masts and sails billowing in the breeze. Captain Smith stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the open sea ahead of him. He was determined to find Atlantis, a city that had been lost to the world for thousands of years. The crew was made up of some of the most experienced sailors in the world. They had been hand-picked by Captain Smith for their expertise in navigating the treacherous waters of the Atlantic Ocean. They worked together like a well-oiled machine, each member performing their duties with precision and skill. As they sailed further out to sea, the ship's crew began to prepare for the journey ahead. They stocked the ship with provisions and checked the equipment to ensure that everything was in working order. Captain Smith stood on the deck, watching as his crew worked. He felt a sense of pride in their teamwork and dedication to the mission. The ship was equipped with the latest technology of the time. It had a powerful steam engine that could propel it through the water at high speeds. It was also fitted with a series of sophisticated navigational instruments that could help the crew to chart their course through the ocean. Captain Smith knew that the journey ahead would be long and dangerous. They would face many challenges, including storms, sea monsters, and rival expeditions. But he was confident in his crew's abilities and determined to succeed. As they sailed further out to sea, Captain Smith received some troubling news. He learned that a rival collector was also searching for Atlantis. This collector was known for his ruthless tactics and was willing to do whatever it takes to win the race. Captain Smith knew that he and his crew would have to outmaneuver the rival expedition if they were to be the first to find Atlantis. He gathered his crew together and explained the situation to them. They all agreed that they would need to work together and be on their guard at all times. The rival collector's ship was spotted on the horizon a few days later. Captain Smith ordered his crew to keep a close eye on it and to be ready for anything. As they got closer, they could see that the rival ship was heavily armed and had a crew that was twice the size of theirs. Captain Smith knew that they were at a disadvantage, but he remained calm and focused. He ordered his crew to prepare for a possible attack and to be ready to defend themselves if necessary. The calm blue waters of the Atlantic soon turned into a raging storm. The wind howled and the waves crashed against the ship. The crew struggled to keep the ship from capsizing as they battled the elements. Captain Smith knew that they were in danger and ordered his crew to batten down the hatches. He took control of the ship's wheel and used his expertise to navigate the ship through the storm. The crew worked tirelessly to keep the ship afloat, bailing out water and repairing any damage to the ship. The storm raged on for several hours, but Captain Smith and his crew eventually emerged victorious. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger for it. As they sailed further out to sea, the crew encountered a variety of sea monsters. They saw giant squid that could crush a man in its tentacles, killer whales that could capsize a ship, and schools of fierce sharks that could devour a man in seconds. Captain Smith knew that they had to be careful, and he ordered his crew to keep a close watch on the sea. They used harpoons and nets to defend themselves against the creatures, but they knew that they were always at risk of being attacked. The crew grew more and more anxious as they encountered more and more sea monsters, but Captain Smith remained calm and focused, reassuring his crew that they had the skills and equipment to deal with any situation. Finally, after weeks of sailing, they spotted land on the horizon. As they got closer, they could see the ruins of an ancient city emerging from the sea. It was Atlantis, the lost city that they had been searching for. Captain Smith and his crew were filled with excitement and anticipation as they approached the city. They could see that the city was enormous, with towering buildings and wide streets. The ship anchored offshore, and the crew prepared to explore the ruins. They made their way through the city, marveling at its beauty and grandeur. They found treasure troves filled with gold and jewels, and ancient artifacts that had been lost for centuries. But they also knew that they had to be careful, as the rival collector and his crew were also in the city, searching for the same treasures. The race was on to claim the treasures of Atlantis. Captain Smith and his crew worked tirelessly, collecting as much treasure as they could find. They knew that time was running out, as the rival collector's crew was also searching for the treasure. It was a race against time, and both crews were determined to be the first to claim the treasure. They encountered each other several times, engaging in verbal sparring and sometimes even physical altercations. But in the end, it was Captain Smith and his crew who emerged victorious. They had outmaneuvered the rival collector and had claimed the treasure of Atlantis. As they prepared to leave the city, they heard a loud rumbling sound. They looked up to see a plume of smoke rising from the volcano that lay beneath the city. The volcano had erupted, and the city was about to be destroyed. Captain Smith and his crew knew that they had to escape before it was too late. They quickly gathered their treasure and made their way back to the ship. They could feel the heat of the lava as it flowed through the city, destroying everything in its path. They set sail just in time, narrowly escaping the eruption. They watched as the city was swallowed up by the lava, disappearing beneath the waves forever. As they sailed back home, Captain Smith reflected on his adventure and the pursuit of knowledge and adventure. He felt a sense of pride in what he had accomplished, and he knew that the experience of finding Atlantis was something that he would never forget. He realized that the journey was just as important as the destination, and that the true reward was the knowledge and experience gained along the way. He knew that he and his crew had been changed forever by the adventure, and that they would never forget the thrill of the chase and the treasures they had uncovered.